Welcome to the top selection number 3, meet the winemakers selection, and we are going to have a very unusual presentation because I decided that I had enough of seriousness. Okay, so there is a presentation with what the winemakers, some of them know, but some of them don't even know what's in the images. And those who even know what's in the images, I added certain things in there just to make it a bit more fun, and because life is too short, so we're supposed to laugh. So as many of you know us, but there are some few newcomers. And so I just would like to say that, very quickly, that I found the top selection 20 years ago. This year is going to be 21. And, it has been an amazing journey. Thank you very much for everyone for being part of it. And you've been our supporters, clients, and everything over the years, which was fantastic. And thank you for supporting us even during COVID, private clients as well, and retailers. And now the restaurants are coming back. So it's all wonderful. And so what we're going to do is on the, no, you need to let me have access to this thing, otherwise it's not going to work. So we have, in this situation, we have UK premieres of Le Quincolin, Centenay, Léat, Vieille Vigne. We have the Terenzi, the Vermentino, the Moreno di Scansano, and the Madre Chiesa Reserva, which I still consider to be a Brunello contender. And then we'll have the first ever Zoom with Bodega Juste. And excuse me, can you turn your microphone off, everyone? Please, can you mute yourself? And then we'll have the UK final Zoom appearance of David Dubon Nuit Saint-Georges 2016, which means that there will be no more. So we have 17, 18, but there is no 16, so don't ask me. And then we have also the world premiere of having François and David with the new long COVID hair. So it's so let's get going. So here we go. So François, this is you, my friend.
And the picture dates back.
Yes.
The picture dates back about 15 years ago.
Exactly, and I put a thought next to you, just in case, saying how you lean on the barrel. All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So I would just introduce myself and the estate as well. So probably I already met some of you, but some of you didn't meet me ever. So I'm François Lequin. I'm the owner, winemaker, cellar master, how can I say, export manager of Domaine René Le Quincolin. Just because it's as most of the Burgundy estates, it's a small estate, which means 11 hectares, mostly here in Centenay and Chassagne-Montrachet. So doing pretty much everything in this estate. So as I said, 11 hectares, mostly Centenay and Chassagne-Montrachet, about half and half white, half red. Of course, only white in Chassagne and mostly red in Centenay. I also have the chance to produce a little bit of Corton Charlemagne. And actually, the picture that you see now is a picture that I took in Corton Charlemagne in 2015, just before the harvest. So I said that I had the chance also to grow some Corton Charlemagne and some Bâtard Montrachet. So it's quite a wide range. But with most of the cuvées that are quite small, to give you ideas, I produce some Chassagne-Montrachet Les Charrières, for example. It's only 4 barrels a year. When we're talking about the Corton Charlemagne, it's only 4 barrels a year as well. Some of them are a bit bigger, like the Centenay Vieillevin. It's a bit more than this. It's more like 20-25 barrels a year. But anyway, this is quite a small estate and quite usual estate for Burgundy.
So we're gonna talk about Centenay a lot today, because obviously I have to say that you and I, we have known each other for quite a while, and yes, you make very, very good Chassagne-Montrachet
one or two
and everything else.
Just see what looks interesting.
But basically, I think that for me, what has always astounded me is the quality of the Centenay appellation, which is by many not considered to be as sexy as Chassagne-Montrachet, but the quality of the wines you make there are really astonishing. So please go ahead.
Yeah, so Centenay is the southest village of the Côte de Beaune. So next door to Chassagne-Montrachet. As I said, I grow there both whites and reds. And of course, there's no comparison, especially. So we start with the white because this is the wine that we're going to taste first. But there's, with the Centenay Léat or whatever, I have 2 other cuvées also of Centenay. There's no comparison and there's no competition with the Chassagne-Montrachet cuvées, for sure. But I think we have definitely a card to play with this appellation in the way that it really shows well. We have great terroirs here in Centenay. Some of them are very comparative to the ones that we can have in the villages next door, such as Chassagne or Puigny-Montrachet. So producing some well-balanced, full-bodied, and very elegant Chardonnays. For the reds, Centenay is mostly known for the reds. Nowadays, the Centenay appellation, I'm not talking about my estate, but Centenay is still like 80% red and 20% white. So Centenay is definitely more known for the reds than for the whites. We also have this chance in Centenay to have so many different terroirs, going from the east side of Centenay, so close to Chassagne-Montrachet, making some very gentle and very elegant Pinots, and to the other side of Centenay, the west side of Centenay, that produces some much more structured wine. So with all these varieties of terroirs, we can have different kind of Centenays. Centenay used to be known to make some quite structured, sometimes a bit tannic wines. I think it's not the case anymore. And especially for me, this is not what I'm looking for to do. I really want to have wines that are approachable, easy to drink. This doesn't mean that there is a lack of structure or of depth, but definitely some wines that can be drank earlier, because we know that most of the consumers will drink the wines early. I don't know, Akosh, if you're ready for the tasting, or do you?
Yeah, well, I've been drinking.
Is there any other question?
I've been drinking it for a while now, so yes, definitely, we're ready for the tasting. Yeah, no question. No, for me, I think,
time to drink.
I think what I mean, 2019. If you could say a few words about the vintage itself.
Yeah.
You know, and explain to us, because the wine is really super accessible now. I mean, I hope it traveled well for everyone. But it's really, really good now to drink already, and it's incredibly young because you bottled it only a few months ago.
Yeah, this has been bottled actually last December, so let's say 4 or 5 months ago. Concerning 19 vintage, it was a quite interesting vintage because it was quite a late vintage, in the way that we started picking around the 20th of September, which is late compared to what we've known in 18 and especially in 20. So which also made a slow ripeness. So the interest with the 19 vintage for both whites and reds, but mostly for the whites, is that we have a very nice structure, nice depth, but at the meantime, a very nice minerality, a very nice acidity that brings the balance that we have in this wine. As Akash said, we can feel that this wine is already showing well, but at the meantime, we can feel that this acidity that is at the end of the taste will allow it to age very well. So this is an interesting vintage in the way that both it shows well now and it's very approachable and drinkable now. But for those of you who would like to store some bottles for a few years, that's really no problem. I'm sure that the wine is going to taste very well in the coming years.
There's a question on chat room saying, why does the west of Santenay produce more structured wines?
Just because of the terroir. This is more chalky soil on the east side of Santenay. So the Pinots that are produced on chalky soil are always finer and more elegant. On the contrary, the west side of Santenay is more clayey soils, and the clayey soils usually produce some more structured wines. And so it's just a matter of terroir. What we call the terroir, actually, the terroir is mostly due to the soil, but it's also it's basically the combination of the soil structure, the exposure to the sun, sometimes some microclimates that can happen, that can be at some places, but mostly the structure of the soil. And this is the reason why we have different styles of wine from the east side of Santenay and the west side of Santenay. And this is very much obvious in Santenay, also because Santenay is quite a big area. It's more than 350 hectares total. So you can imagine that from the far east to the far west of Santenay, it's more like 2.5–3 kilometers. So you imagine that out of these 3 kilometers, the terroirs will change very much.
I think there's also an important thing that you need to mention is that you vinify your Bâtard Montrachet the same way that you do your Santenay.
Or the contrary.
Or the contrary, yeah. Exactly. So if you can just tell me, because, you know, I put your cellar, but I also put your stainless steel thing. So if you can explain a little bit of how you make the wine, because you make them all the same, I know, but if you could just tell, that would be great.
So we start by the beginning. To me, the wine, you make the wine, I would say like 80% in the vineyard, because then it's just a recipe. Each winemaker has his own recipe. I have mine, but the most important is what you bring from the vineyard. If you bring ripened, healthy, balanced grapes, it's easy to make a good wine. You know, there's a lot of comparison between winemaking and cooking. You can have the best chef in the world. If you give him some bad eggs, he will never make a good omelette. It's exactly the same with the wine. So to start by the beginning, I've always been plowing and working as simple as possible, reducing the chemicals when I started working 26 years ago, and finally to turn to the organic production, certified organic production, since 2009. So it's been 12 years since I'm AB organic certified. This, you've never seen any AB sign on my label. This is normal, just because to me it's not organic wine doesn't mean good wine. There are some good organic wines, some bad ones, some good regular wines, and some bad ones as well. So it's just a way of producing that I chose. But this, just to be as close as possible to nature, just try to let the vineyards express themselves through the grapes that they grow, with as less as interaction from my hand as possible. Then, when you know that to me the most important is the quality of the grapes that we bring, then it's quite easy. For the white wines, the grapes are pressed, the juices are blended. When I say the juices, which means the free run juice and the pressed juice from the same block, are just blended together in this stainless steel, as you can see, stainless steel tanks, sorry, that you can see there. They will rest for about half a day, 12 hours, before going straight into the barrels. The barrels that you saw on the previous picture. Then everything takes place into the barrels. The alcoholic fermentation, then the malolactic fermentation during winter time or springtime. And actually the wine will stay into these barrels until the next harvest, when I will rack or empty the barrels to refill with the new vintage. So everything takes place into the barrels, no racking during the aging. During this aging, I will do some batonnage, so which means some lees stirring. Really depends. It's like, once again, it's like cooking. Depends on how I feel the vintage, what the quality of the grapes that I brought, the balance of the grapes and everything. So it can be every week concerning the batonnage, every other week, once a month. It really depends on how I taste the wine and what I want to make with.
And you do the aging, barrel aging is what, 12 months? 11 months?
12 months in barrels, and then the wines will will go back to stainless steel for 3-4 months to rest, to how can I say, settle down. The goal is to filter them as less as possible. Basically, I just filter the bottom of the tanks where the lees will stay, but the top of the tanks are not filtered. So this is a total aging of 15-16 months. And as I said, I usually bottle the whites in December or January, then the year after. So which means after, yes, 15-16 months of aging total.
Okay. Can you just very quickly say what batonnage is? We have a question about that.
Yeah, batonnage is the lees stirring. So which means that when we put the juices into the barrels, into these juices, there is the liquid part and a little bit of solid part, which is also what gives the flavors and the structure of the wine. These lees, these sediments, will drop down at the bottom of the barrels naturally. So the batonnage is just moving these lees, putting them again in suspension into the wine it's a bit like, how can I say, like a tea bag. If you just don't move your tea bag, you're not going to have the extraction of the tea. It's a bit the same with the lees and for the white wines. If you just let the lees at the bottom of the tank, the lees won't bring what they have to bring to the wine. If you just put them in suspension into the wine many times during the aging, then you can get everything that is in the lees to be to go to the wine.
Okay, thank you.
I saw that it's clear.
Yeah, exactly. So, what is the percentage of new oak you use?
No more than 20%.
No more than 20%.
Once again, I try to make the wines as simple as possible, which means just I want the wines to be the expression of the terroirs where they come from. New oak is nice. It's like a kind of like a makeup, but if it's too present, then you can't taste the wine anymore.
Let's go to the red.
15-20%.
Let's go to the red because I'm conscious of the time.
Yeah.
So tell us about the red wine. And,
so the Centenay Vieille Vigne is the only exception in my cellar, which is a blend. A blend in the way that it's not one single vineyard. This is the white. So Centenay Vieille Vigne is a blend of 3 different vineyards from 3 different areas of Centenay. I told you before that Centenay is quite a wide appellation and with completely different terroirs from the east side to the west side. This cuvée of Centenay Vieille Vigne is a blend of 3 different vineyards coming from, one is on the east side, one is down in the village of Centenay, and the other one is on the west side. This brings everything. So pretty much the vineyard from the west side will bring the structure and the depth. The one from the east side will bring the finesse and the elegance, and the one that is in Centenay brings usually the fruit and the fresh flavors. So that's the interest with this Centenay Vieille Vigne, because it's all vines, like the name says, first, and also it can bring all the the characters that you can get out of the Centenay terroirs.
Do you do any whole cluster, or you distem everything?
Some years I would do some, but it really depends on the ripeness of the stems. Okay. I could do some. I do some sometimes. No more than 10-15%.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's good. Any fining, filtration? What do you do with filtration? What kind of filtration?
I do fining every year because fining is not that bad for the wine. I do some filtration every year for the whites because, as I said, it's difficult to have them completely clear. And some markets, I'm talking about the Asian markets mostly, wouldn't accept any sediment into the bottles. So I have to filter the whites. I still filter the whites every year. I don't filter the reds every year. I would say 90% of the time I don't filter the reds. Some years they don't settle down by themselves, so I have to filter them lightly just to make them clear.
Okay. And the final one, in France, there is no legislation about what has to be the minimum age for a producer to call his wine vieille vigne.
No.
What is your standard? What so is this? How old are the vines?
It's not really a standard for me. It's just the 3 vineyards that I use to make this Centenay vieille vigne cuvée. The average is over 60 years old because the one that is on the east side is close to 80 now. The one that is on the west side is 50, 55, and the one that is in the middle of Centenay is about 60. So the average age is close to 60 years old. So I think we can talk about all vines yes. When you know that the capacity of producing of a vineyard is until 70, 80 years old. You can have some very old vines also for up to 100 years, but then they almost don't produce any more grapes. So this is the interest also of this, having some very low yields and also this concentration that you can get with this old vines. So yeah, let's say 60 years old, around 16 years old for me, but no, there's no rule around the old vines. So anybody can call old vines in the way that
they want.
There's no rule about that.
Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you. It was very enlightening. I hope everybody enjoyed the wines, and let's move on from the Côte de Beaune to the Côte de Nuit to David Dubon. So David, hello. Here you are.
I'm good, thank you. Hello, everyone.
All right.
I can start?
Yes, you can. If we can see you, that would be even better.
Salut, François.
Yeah, it's not that. It's not you, probably, but Quoi, on le voit pas, lui.
Yes, we can see.
Here you go. That's it. Here you go, my friend. Good to see you.
He was much younger on the picture.
Yes, he was. Yeah, that's true. Well, welcome. Exactly, David. Do that. That's even better. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And yes, my estate now. My parents started in the 60s with nothing. They planted a lot of vineyard in the Haute Côte de Nuit in Chevannes, where we live now. And after in 1991, I started to vinify because my father didn't make the wine and sold the grapes in cooperative. And I began in 91 with the first vintage with just 20 barrels. And now we have 25 hectares. 7-8 hectares in the Haute Côte de Nuit and the other between Nuit Saint-Georges and Gevrey-Chambertin. We have different villages, different Premier Cru and 5 Grand Cru. We work in organic culture since 2006, and now since 2008 we do the whole cluster vinification. We keep for 60-90% the stems for the vinifications. I do just for 97% red wine, and just one white wine in the Haute Côte de Nuit with the Chardonnay. Qu'est-ce que je peux dire maintenant?
Qu'est-ce que tu peux dire? So speak about basically. I have showed this picture that how you treat your employees.
Yeah. When we decide to keep the stems, the green piece of the grapes for the vinification, we have to do the pigeage when you push the grapes in the juice to extract the color and everything. I prefer to do the pigeage by foot because it's not possible to cut the stems. It's very important because if you cut it, you extract a lot of sap and you have a lot of bitterness, and it's not very good. We keep 60% for the stems just for the village and the regional appellations, and 75% for the Premier Cru, and 90% for the Grand Cru. It's not a problem for me for the maturity of the stems. Everybody speak about that, but for me the more important is to respect the stems and to keep it comment on dit, cluster entier.
Right, to full, to keep it as a whole bunch, basically. Yeah.
We do 4, 5, 6 pigeages maximum per cuvée, and we do the fermentation during 14 days. Now we try to do the vinification without sulfur before the fermentation, and to keep the natural aromas from the grapes. And after we put a little sulfur during the aged barrels, and we try in 2018 vintage without sulfur in bottle, without sulfur between the fermentation and the bottling, but just for me and just to try. After the fermentation, after the press, we do the aged barrels with 30-40% with new oak, French oak, for 12 and 14 months. We rack them after, and we keep the wine for 2-3 months in tanks to have a good sedimentation. And after we do the bottling without filtration, without nothing.
All right. So let's talk about your Bourgogne Rouge, that I believe it has an identity problem because it's too good for a Bourgogne Rouge. So, you know.
Yes. Bourgogne, it's a large appellation. You can have Bourgogne in Lyon, Chablis, and Irancy, and Côte d'Or, and Mâconnais, and sometime in Beaujolais. But my Bourgogne come from Moray-Saint-Denis and Chambol-Musigny. This 2017 was a very good vintage, and if you want to drink now, it's a very good vintage for the Bourgogne, for the villages now, and some Premier Cru. It's a very elegant vintage with a soft tannins, just a light color, but it's not very important, the color for me in the red wine. And now every client like 2017. It's easier to drink now than the 2015 or and 2018. 2018, it's more concentrated. So
when I met you a long time ago, Jesus, it's going to be 15 years, 16, 17 years ago now, I always remember, and we have a mutual friend who had the same thing. is Nuit Saint-Georges was always known to be a wine that you cannot touch until it's 20 years of age, because it's so austere, it's so difficult, and so on and so on. And when I met you, you changed this completely in my mind. And that's why we chose today to show the Nuit Saint-Georges 2016, which, by the way, before anyone asked, there is no more of it. So we are just showing it to you. Well, you can't buy it. So you can buy 17, but you can't buy 16. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that. So if you could explain to us a little bit about Nuit Saint-Georges and why your wines are so incredibly soft and elegant, and already at young age so incredibly approachable.
I want to say in the first time, this bottle is collector.
Yeah.
It's collector because we had a lot of frost in the end of April in 2016, and we lost 80% of the record in Nuit Saint-Georges.
Wow.
And usually I do 35 barrels of Nuit Saint-Georges village. And in 16, we had 7 barrels. And but the quality for me very good, concentrated, more concentrated like the 17, but not closed. And I think now it's a good time to start to drink it, but you can keep it for 7-8 years. It depends what you like, but you have a good balance in this vintage. Good color, good tannins, soft tannins, and good acidity. But now when you eat with it, it's very good. But I have no Nuit Saint-Georges 16 in my cellar now.
Well, then we feel very privileged.
We had to sell everything because it was so small.
Oh God! All right. Well, we can tell you it's a good wine. It's drinking very well, David. Well done.
Thank you.
We'll keep some, so when you come to London, we'll share a bottle.
Okay. One day.
One day.
Perhaps
One day you'll be able to come. So that's good.
In this wine, we have a 60% wall cluster, and the same for the pigeage and everything.
There was a question about the whole cluster and the sulfites. Is there any connection entre les sulfites et la vendange entière in your mind, or nothing to do with it?
J'ai pas compris à quoi.
L'utilisation des quantités de sulfites et le fait que tu utilises de la vendange entière. Est-ce qu'il y a une connexion?
Yes. I think if we want to speak about the sulfur and for the red wine, I think it's easier to do vinification without sulfur because you have tannins in the red wine, and it's a good conservator. And I think for the next vinification, we will do all cuvée without sulfur before the fermentation, because now, since 3-4 years, we cut 2 barrels of grapes 5 days before the harvest in the Haute-Côte de Nuit with a very young plant with a good maturity. We cut 2 barrels, we do the fermentation, and after 5 days, we have a big fermentation. The name of the process, it's a pied de cuve. And when we start the harvest in Nuit Saint-Georges, in Maurice-Saint-Denis, when the tanks is full, we take 2 boxes of pied de cuve, and we push it in the Nuit Saint-Georges, in the Marais Saint-Denis, and we have a little carbonic gas on the grapes and a good protection. And the day after, we start immediately the fermentation. After, we have no problem. It's not necessary to have a sulfur because we have a good protection with the carbonic gas. I think we will try every cuvée for the next vinification.
Good.
And with the wall cluster, we keep the berries closed, and you have no big juice in the tanks and no oxidation, and it's easier to do that without sulfur if you compare with the distemp vinification where you have a lot of juice.
Okay. So I put together a few slides just to show everyone the team who is behind your estate. So let's start with the big boss, you know,
My father
in his Second World War Jeep.
now in this moment he's in the tractor to do the plowing, and he's this year 84 years old.
Well, to his very good health, and you know, may he stay healthy for a long time.
Yeah.
There is the kids coming afterwards. You see?
Yes, the twins.
The twins, yeah, and as you can see, I'm sure they want to make Yuppie grapes in the future. Of course, I had to put the woman thinking about taking over your estate, not your son. Sorry. And then you have your eldest son, who clearly likes to work, but you need to feed him. You poor guy. I mean, come on.
No, it's not my son. It's me.
Yeah, you wish. Yeah. So Louis Auguste.
Yes, Louis Auguste now is 24 years, and he started to work with us 1 year ago.
Good. So he's
passionate. Yeah.
So do you hand him over part of things, that you give him full responsibility on certain things, or how do you do this? Do you guys work together all the time, or how does this process work, or is it just very fluid?
Traduis-moi, t'as été
Très fluent. Est-ce que tu lui donnes des responsabilités bien spécifiques sur certaines tâches, ou alors tu le laisses voir, tu l'impliques dans plusieurs tâches, ou une fois tu lui donnes quelque chose, la prochaine fois quelque chose d'autre?
It's a little difficult for him since 8 months, because we lost a worker. Is dead 8 months ago, and he has to do his work, to do expedition, and now he can do everything, but Louis Auguste tastes very well, and he knows what he wants, and but now he look at everything, he think about that, and we come on,
exchange ideas.
Yeah, and no, it's a very good son.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you very much, David, and congratulations on the wines, as always.
Thank you.
And this is the handsome boy behind the thing when you used to have your hair. You remember?
Yeah. 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I found it on Leticia's Facebook page. I said, I finished with this one. All right, David, thank you very much. If you want, you can stay on. We have Italy and Spain coming. So, Balbino, if you had the kindness to unmute yourself and come on. I hope you're here.
Okay.
Here we go. Ciao.
Ciao. Good evening, everybody. My name is Balbino Terenzi from the Terenzi Winery. We are based in the south of Tuscany, in the Maremma region, which is kind of a new El Dorado for the Tuscan wine. And we fall in love with this amazing place 20 years ago. We originally come from Milan. We moved here, and we started from scratch to plant our vineyards and build the actual winery. And Scansano till the 90s was a place where, of course, everybody was cultivating grapes, but they were selling grapes, and there was just few bottling wineries. So we believed in this land and in the possibility to make good wines here. So we invested in this 60 hectares winery. As you can see from the map, we have 5 main areas, 5 main vineyards, total 60 hectares. And as you can see, number 1, 2, 4 is more on the northern part, is 27 hectares, the 3 of them, and is the soil there is deep with the coarse sands and deep clay, and is very stony and well drained. So it's the ideal soil for the Sangiovese grapes, which of course you know is the most famous grape in Tuscany. But here in Scansano, the Morellino, which was the typical wine, was made with only 85% Sangiovese. And so we started to produce a different kind of Morellino with Sangiovese 100%. So because we are on the higher part of the appellation, we are 300 meters on the sea level. And so many of the wineries were more in the south part at the time. And so we started to make something different, producing Sangiovese 100%. So the tradition of the Sangiovese in Tuscany, but as Maremma is a new land for winemaking, we also had the possibility to plant something different. So we were the first, among the first in this area to make white wines, in particular the Vermentino, which you know is a grape variety from the coast. So in Italy we have in Liguria, we have in Sardinia, and in Tuscany. And so we started to make Vermentino in Maremma, but also Viognier and other interesting things. As you can see from the map, the other 2 parts, 3 and 5, are in the lower part. There we have a different kind of soil with clay and sand with large particles, rich in limestone, which enhance the finesse of the wine. So more complexity in the Sangiovese part and more finesse on the other, where we planted other grape varieties. We also have 15 hectares olive trees, so we produce our own olive oil in the small cellar that we used for our pleasure to make the wine in the 90s. So in 2001, we built a bigger cellar, which is the actual cellar, which is a 3,000 square meter cellar. And also we invested in the aging room with all the barrels and the big oak, which was something that in this area was not used, because they used to make very young and fresh wines, everyday wines. So we work around 50 tons of grapes every year. We produce around 400,000 bottles, and we produce 9 different wines, 5 red and 3 white and 1 sweet wine. So today, in particular, I present you 3 wines of our production, which is the Vermentino, the classic Morellino, and our single vineyard, the Morellino Madre Chiesa.
And before we go there, I just wanted to say that normally I never let that many pictures to be shown, but since we've been sitting at home, I wanted people to dream a little bit about Tuscany. And if you can see on the right top corner, I put a particular spot where I would like to be, which is in your swimming pool right there, you see. I wish I was there, my friend. That's it, you know. So you have also a wonderful guest house. And I have to say it was a pleasure to stay there. So next time, hopefully we're going to be able to go there and see you soon.
Yes, we look forward to welcome you again here, and we had such a good time with you, and also with some of your clients, which already had the opportunity to visit us from London. And so, as you can see, the real boss here is a woman. It's our sister, Francesca Romana, which also gave her name to our Super Tuscan wine, which we are not tasting today, but next time. And me and my brother Federico. Everything was started by our father, which is still here every day in the winery, but we are now carrying the business. And so we can start with the wine you're tasting today. We start with Balbino. As I told you, Vermentino is now in Tuscany is very interesting here in Maremma. The quality of the Vermentino, which is a grape variety that grows very well near the coast. And our Vermentino is 100% Vermentino. The vintage you are tasting today is 2019. And the Vermentino comes from 3 different vineyards. If you remember the map we saw before, it comes. We have 7 hectares of Vermentino. We produce around 60,000 bottles, depending from the vintages, around 60,000 bottles. And we have 2 hectares vineyards in the #1 vineyard on the map. 3 hectares in the #3.
I go back
and
here we go.
Okay, very kind of you, thank you. Okay, so as I said, in #1, where is the vineyard where also the winery is located, we have 2 hectares of Vermentino. Then we have 3 hectares in #3 and 3 hectares in #5. So we have 3 different 3 different vineyards. So the 3 of them makes we have more structure in the #1 and part of #3 and more perfume in the #5 normally. So it's a good balance between these vineyards, and so this is a blend of these 3 different Vermentino. The clone is Sardinian clone, and so it's just a mix of them. The grape variety is the same and is 100% Vermentino. So the wine is the vinification we harvest with the machine. Then we also have a superior Vermentino we harvest by hand, and we make only 3,000 bottles. But we like very much the machine for the white because we can harvest before the dawn. We can harvest very early in the morning, around 4:30 a.m. when the temperature is around 15 Celsius, because here in Maremma, in summertime, the temperature is very hot. So we can harvest with a fresh temperature, and we can go quickly to the winery, where we part of the grape we do maceration with skin, only the best quality grapes. And otherwise we press directly, and we do the fermentation with the saturation with carbon dioxide, so we don't have oxidation. And we do this fermentation at 24 Celsius, 18 Celsius for with the skin maybe 12 hours, and then around 12 days at 18 Celsius. So Then we leave the wine in contact with the fine lees until December. So the wine gets more get richer, and so we have this typical nose of the Vermentino. Is a very typical Vermentino, where you can smell, of course, the white flower, the white fruit like the pear, and in particular the Mediterranean bush. And is very characteristic of this Vermentino is this very salted, very savory finish, and a little bit of minerality.
It's not a little bit, it's very
soil.
fresh. The wine is really fresh. I mean, you do have the structure, balance, it coats the mouth, but you have a very, very good acidity and freshness that comes at the end, which is remarkable. Bravo.
Thank you, Ekos. And so we can
yeah, let's move on to the
second wine, which is the Morellino di Scansano, the classic Morellino. As I told you, the classic Morellino is a red wine which is normally not aged in wood. And as I told you before, the Disciplinare from the Consorzio is normally 85% Sangiovese and 50% of other grape varieties like the Ciliegiolo, or the more modern use the Merlot or the Syrah or the Cabernet. We decided to do Sangiovese 100% as we are on the higher part of the appellation. So this is a 2019 Morellino Sangiovese. Is a very fresh and easy to drink Sangiovese, which is not very easy to make, because, as you know, the Sangiovese is very strong grape. It can be a very strong grape with rough grape with strong acidity and aggressive tannins. So we use a different clone of the Sangiovese, where we have a bigger grape, a bigger bunch, which is more tight, and which we harvest earlier than the Riserva. So is a softer Sangiovese that we do the fermentation for only 7 days at 26-27 Celsius. So we extract only this fresh fruit and red nose. So this is a very fresh Sangiovese with this nose, beautiful nose with typical violet from the Sangiovese, the fresh cherry, the raspberry, and
it's very soft. It's very, very soft. And I mean, have drunk a few hectoliters of Sangiovese in my life, and I can tell you that such young Sangiovese, which is so approachable. I mean, now in London the sun is out, so it kind of emphasizes my feeling of happiness. But the wine brings you sunshine and freshness and happiness at the same time. It's for me, it's great. The wine is singing. That's what I would say. The wine is literally singing.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that, because this is what we want to hear from people tasting this wine. When we make it, we think of this. And for us, it's also very, very important the serving temperature of this wine. As you can see, we suggest to serve at 15 Celsius. So you put on the table at 15, because just after 10 minutes, it's already 16 Celsius. And so the temperature, the fresh temperature enhance even more this characteristic of the wine, the drinkability, the freshness. So it's a wine loved by women in particular also, and is ideal by the glass for aperitivo here in Italy. We love it also in summer, and you can also have it with fish, like for example, the typical soup, fish soup, the caciucco from Tuscany is an ideal pairing with this very fresh Sangiovese.
All right.
So the next, last but not least, is our cru, the Madre Chiesa. We've been the first winery here in Scansano to make a cru, a single vineyard. This is a vineyard this is the only vineyard we bought at the time, because we were looking for an older vineyard to start experimenting aged Sangiovese at the beginning. And now this vineyard is 35 years old. So it's not very old, but for us, it is an interesting age to work for a Riserva. Bring on the Brunellos is nice from Ecos, because you know, if you don't know what Morellino is, or if you do a blind tasting, maybe you will think this wine comes from most prestigious and traditional part of Tuscany. Of Tuscany. This is a Sangiovese 100% picked by hand, and we harvest later, because this is a different clone of Sangiovese with a smaller and a loose bunch with a tighter skin. So we can harvest it later with more phenolic maturation, and also we can do a longer fermentation. So when the alcoholic fermentation is finished, we keep in contact with the skin for more time, sometimes even almost a month, and with a temperature of 28-30 Celsius. So we try to extract more complexity, and then we do the malolactic fermentation, and after the malolactic fermentation that we do in steel tanks, everything is in steel tanks. I forgot to say, starting from the Vermentino, the second wine, the Morellino we tasted, and of course also Madre Chiesa. And then we age the wine in the classic big Slavonian oak cask, like they do in Montalcino for the Brunello. But we age for only 12 months, 12, 16 months, depend from the single barrel. We use 25, 35, and 50 hectoliters, 100 liters oak barrel. So this is a wine. I think what we love about this wine is that it has the drinkability of the Morellino and the complexity of the great Sangiovese. So it's a wine that you can drink also every day, but has more complexity, and it is very easy to drink, but at the same time it has complexity, and also it can age for a long time. And for this wine, we've been awarded by the Gambero Rosso since the first vintage, that was 2009. It was awarded by the Gambero Rosso, which never gave the Tre Bicchieri, that in Italy is an important award, was never given to the Morellino, to the Sangiovese or the wines from this area. And from that vintage, it was given to this wine every year. So now is 8 years in a row, it's awarded with the Tre Bicchieri. Of course, we don't work for the awards and the Tre Bicchieri, but we are happy of this recognition of our work, because our challenge was to show that in this part of Tuscany, you can make a good Sangiovese.
Sam, go away. What's the issue, Sam?
So I have a question for you. So how was 2015 as a vintage for you?
Sorry, this was the timer of the 20 minutes, because you said a 20 minutes presentation, so I can talk anymore. No, sorry. the 2015 was compared to 2014, that was very fresh vintage and also very difficult vintage because in 14 it rained a lot. But in the end, for us, was a good vintage because in the south of Tuscany we had better weather compared, for example, to Montalcino in the second part of September. So we were able to make a very good 14. So we were coming from a very good vintage, but 2015 was very good vintage, very warm compared to 2014. So you have more concentration compared to 2014, but still you have this good acidity nerve of this Sangiovese, which is well balanced, and I like very much the tannins, which I think is soft and elegant, and it has dry extract of 30 grams per liter and acidity of 6.2 grams per liter, and residual sugar.
It has very good body and good structure, but it's well balanced out with the freshness of the acidity. So
yes, even if it was a very warm vintage.
Yeah, I know.
And 2016, I'm looking forward to send to London the 16, because of course, as you were mentioning before, also for another wine, 16 was a great vintage in general, and so it's really interesting. But I love 2015 very much. We're very happy with this vintage.
Well, listen, thank you very much. And I just finished with this one, and look at this paint, look at this thing, and why that's what I put there. Why do you want to come to London? Look at this place. Seriously, man, we'll come to you. But anyway, you're welcome to London anytime, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to be at the pub now with you, because here we still have restriction. But it seems on Monday the restaurants will reopen only on the outside. So we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much. Please stay on if you want to learn about sherry, because now we're going to hand it over to Carmen, and we're going to go to Spain. So, Carmen, if you unmute yourself, please come on board.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for the invitation for the tasting.
So tell us about sherry, because we don't know as much as we should. We like to drink it, but we don't know that much about it. So
well, this is the perfect moment to learn a little bit more about sherry. So hello, I'm Carmen de la Pascua, the winemaker of Bodegas Juste. We are located inside of the Cherry Triangle in a small city called Sanlúcar de Barrameda, which is next to the sea. So the bodega was founded by Francisco Juste, Paco Juste, like 30 years ago. He used to sell beer another manzanilla. He has a distribution company, but his dream was to have a winery in his own house. So with a lot of work, effort, and time, he could buy a very nice place in the city center of Sanlúcar. It has a small winery inside. He renovated the winery. The bodega is called Santa Ana. And then he started with the business. With the time, 10 years later, he bought another bodega called Los Angeles. And then 10 years later, he bought Bodegas Miraflores, where is located the office, the bottling, all the mean of the brain of the bodega is in Bodegas Miraflores. So I don't know exactly what do you know about cherry, what do you know about the manzanilla. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it before to taste the wine. I think after that, it's going to be easier to understand our product. So for start a little bit for the vineyard, our soil is called Albariza. And Albariza, as you see in the little photo or draw that I put here, Well, let me check the name because I don't know in English exactly how to say it, but it's made between 30 and 80% of chalk, and the rest is a mix on limestone, clay, and sand. So what these soils made, it keep the water, and it also reflects the sun, the light. We don't really need it, but it does it anyway, because we have like 300 days of sun by year.
Oh my God, don't say that, my wife will leave me.
I know this is a lot of sun, but the good point is that the soil keeps the water properly. So when the wine needs the water, it takes it without any problem. That's good, because without water, we couldn't have any grapes in here. So our grape variety, that the one that we are going to taste today, is Palomino Fino. Before, it used to say that the Palomino was a kind of neutral variety, but it was because we used to have a very high plantation. I mean, we used to have a lot of production by hectare. So of course that we are going to have any grape concentration. It's going to be very neutral. But now that the kilos decrease, that we have we regulated, we can see that the Palomino is mineral, and it has a very strong, powerful to reflect the Albariza soil. Well, after the harvest, of course, we press the grapes, we make the fermentation, and we arrive to have a degree between 11.5 and 12 degrees of alcohol. So after that, like everybody can make an aging, we say that here in Jerez, in Sanlúcar, the process of winemaking starts here. I mean, when we have the wine with the alcohol is when we start to make the wine. Because it's right now when we start to make the most important decision of the life of the cherry or manzanilla. We make a first classification. It's mean that we are going to taste all the wine that we have in the tanks, and we are going to choose his destiny. If it's a very elegant, mineral, fresh wine, we are going to say that it's going to be destined to a biological aging. We call it crianza biológica. But at the opposite is the wine has more concentration, is heavy in the mouth, with more natural note of fruit. We are going to say that it's going to have an oxidative agent. And what does it mean? I mean, it's weird to have the choice at the end of the life of a wine, but it's where it's going to start actually. If we are going to have a biological aging, we say that we put a line. And it means that we're going to fortificate the wine to 15 or 15.5 degrees of alcohol. We are going to put more alcohol that came from the distillation of the wine for arrive to this degree. But if the wine, as I say, has a lot of fruit per concentration of power, we put the alcohol to arrive to 17 or 17.5 degrees of alcohol. So we have two ways. And I think that we can go to the next step, to the next, thank you. So this is a presentation, this photo, it came from the Sherry Academy, but I think it's very easy to understand. And the first line was the vinification, the one that I already explained. And when we arrive to the two options, two ways that a wine can take here in the area, we are calling this wine sobre tablas. It can be to 15 or 70 degrees of alcohol. With the 15 degrees, we are going to have, as I said, the biological agent. But with the 17, the oxidative. With the biological, where we are going to put, with all the wines, we are going to put it into the barrels, American oak, but we are not going to fill it to the top, only the 55%. With the 50 degrees of alcohol, we know that at the top, because we have the wine, which is all the time with the oxygen, we are going to have a yeast that we call the flower, who is going to grow up. The yeast usually is the sugar, but our wine hasn't got any sugar left. So he starts to eat the glycerin, and also the alcohol. and it's going to produce another thing that are going to appear in the wine, some flavors, some aromas, but one of the most important things is the acetaldehyde that is going to make our wine so special. So maybe we can see it in the next diapositive. Yes, so imagine that we are in the top of the bottle. We open it, and this is what we see. We see the flower. The flower is eating the alcohol slowly, not a lot, and then it's produce new things. If we are in Jerez or in El Puerto de Santa Maria, is another city, we make a cherry. It means we are going to make a fino. But if we are in Sanlúcar de Barrameda, this is where we are located, we make a manzanilla. This is the same process, but the location of the city makes the yeast different. And if we are close or longer to the sea, the situation is going to change. So this is why we have fino and we have manzanilla, but the cities are like 20 kilometers, one of each other, but we can see a lot of difference between them. So this is the first step, the first way that we can take. The other one, if we would put the degree to 17.5. So the yeast is going to die. We are not going to have any yeast from the beginning. So if we put the wine only to the 55% inside of the barrel, inside of the bottle, this is how we call it, the wine is going to get oxidated. It means the color is going to change, the flavor is going to change, it's not going to be the same. So this is the two main ways that we are going to take here. But sometimes we can mix them. This is why the complexity can arrive. If we start a biological aging, and then with the time the flowers die, we are not going to have the wine protect. I mean, it can get oxidated. So it means that we are going to have biological and then oxidative aging. So maybe we can see it in the next one. Thank you. So here we can see the both of group that I told about. The first glasses, they are very light, the color. It means that they are not too old and they have been very nice protected with the flower. But with the time, it can get oxidated, so the color is going to change. At the end, it's not dark, but it's kind of dark. So the last glass is a sweet wine. It's made by our Riesling grapes, Pedro Jimenez or Moscatel. But we are not going to take this today. But just for a little explanation, for make our wines, we put the grapes on the floor, so in the vineyard or maybe in the cellar, and they are going to get deshydrated. So the wine is going to be sugar at the end, and we can put more alcohol. It depends on the process. It depends on the vineyard. So here we have the differences between the oxidative and biological. Well, if we have a biological aging, we can have fino and manzanilla. If we have an oxidative aging, we have an oloroso. We are going to taste it today. But if we have a biological and then an oxidative aging, it means because of the flower dies with the time, we are going to have an amontillado. But how are we going to get the flower to die? How it can be possible if we fill the barrels? It is possible because we have a system of aging, which is a kind of different than the rest, which is called soleras and criaderas. And it's explained in the next step. Thank you. So I hope to explain it properly, but imagine that we are going to bottle the wine, like Manzanilla Aurora, the one that we're going to taste later. So we go to the cellar and we see the bottles, and we have this picture. So for bottling, we take the wine for the bottle that are just to the top of the soil. This bottle are called solera. So we take the wine, a little bit of the wine, like a 10% maybe, it depends, but we take like a 10% of the wine, we mix, and then we bottle. But we want to keep the 55% that we already say in all the barrels. So we take a little bit more wine of the bottle that on the top of this one. They are called the first criadera. So we make a saca, we take this 10%, we mix the wine, and then we introduce it in the solera. And then we continue doing it with the bottle that are on them. I mean, the first criadera goes to the solera, the second criadera go to the first criadera, and the third criadera go to the second. You can have how many criaderas as you want. It depends on the volume of wine that you're going to make, and it's also going to change the age of your wine. But what can we do when we arrive to the last criadera? So the thing is that what we put inside is the wine of the year. I mean, the wine that we taste, that we classify, and we put more alcohol. This system is used from the biological aging and also for the oxidative aging. So it means that I can take from the solera and a manzanilla where the velos start to die. So when it happened, we speak about a manzanilla pasada. Pasada make us understand that the wine can has a kind of note of oxidation, typical from Amontillado and al oloroso, but they can appear when the manzanilla is too old, but it's not an oloroso, Amontillado, sorry. So this is more or less the winemaking process of a cherry or a manzanilla. I hope that you don't have any question. If you do, please ask me anything. So maybe we can start with the wines and explain a little bit about Auroras. Aurora is one of more important brands that we have. It wasn't created by us. Paco used the both brand 6 years ago. It came from a very historical bodega from Sanlúcar called Pedro Romero. They closed and Paco bought this brand. And Aurora brand, for me, is quite important. It has a very nice history. Pedro Romero, the bodega what Aurora's brand was made, well, it was created at the end of last century. Of the 19th century. Well, he passed away, so his wife, Aurora, has to take control of the winery. It means that at the beginning of the 1940s, a woman had to control a winery, has to produce the wine, and have to sell the wine. And it wasn't very easy. It was nothing easy, but she made a very nice work. And everybody stand to see the woman maybe a kind of different way in Sanlúcar, but she has a very important work with the women that are now into the wine. So when Paco bought the brand, for him was important as well, because his wife and his daughter, they are called Aurora too, and now his granddaughter. So it has double meaning. And in Aurora's brand, we have 4 different wines. We have 1 manzanilla and 3 cherries, Amontillado, Oloroso, and Pedro Jiménez, the seed wines. Oh, you want some olivas? Yeah, nice. Well, if you want, we can taste the manzanilla. Well, it's not a young manzanilla. It's a kind of pasada. It's going to start to lose a little bit of his flower, the yeast, or el velo de flor. This is how we call it in Spanish. This is why we can find a little bit of almond, some toast note, brioche, but I can find a very salty note. This is because we are very close to the sea. And a note like more olives, I kind of menta, but just a little. And at the mouth is, I don't know how to say it in English, I'm sorry, but I want to explain with my hands. It made like this. It have a very nice acidic, salty, fresh. It's round, but the good thing is it's going to invite you to drink even more. But it has 15 degrees of alcohol, and I can feel them. I mean, this is one of the thing that we take control. No, it's not 100% in Rama, but we try to make it, how to say it, we filtrate it a little bit, but not a lot, because we want to keep the same, how to say, the same typicity that the wine in the botas, but it has very slow filtration, but it's not 100% in Rama. And this is maybe what you can see the
sediment.
cloudy.
Yeah, there's also some bottles will have some sediment in there.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be worried about it, but it's part of a natural process.
Because it's not traits. It's not. It hasn't got a very strong. How to say it? It's not stabilized. It's so natural. It's very natural.
Yeah. That's very good.
So for the Amontillado, it came from the Manzanilla Aurora when it's too old and it starts to lose her wine. Her wine, no, the flower. Mm-hmm. It appeared this oxidation. So Aurora has around 8 years old, and the Amontillado have 20. It means that it has like 8 years of biological aging and almost 12 years of oxidative aging. So this is why the color changed that much.
So the floor died, and after 8 years, and then the aging that happened in the barrel, which was only filled like 55% or whatever, then it started oxidizing for the next 12 years. Do you lose obviously some liquid because there is an evaporation?
A lot. Unfortunately, we lose a lot. Yeah.
Yes. So do you top up the barrels for when you make the Amontillado for during the 12 years, or to maintain the levels, or not?
No, I mean, we have the Criadera and Solera system. So when we renovate it, we fill it to the 55. So maybe sometimes we need even more wine. We expect it. But no, we don't fill it regularly. It's not like red or white wine that you try to kill the liquid all.
Yeah.
Here we can play with that. And what the Amontillado, what I like about Amontillados of Aurora Amontillado is like that you can still feel the salty and the fresh. And the almond, it's getting a little bit more toast, but it's not heavy at the nose. I mean, for the time that it has oxidative aging, I don't see a lot of how to say it. I have the I forgot the name. Confit. You don't see a lot of confit.
Yeah.
Fruit.
It's interesting.
And mouth. Yeah.
What you can find also is when we were bottling the little samples.
Yeah.
We found that the color from bottle to bottle, even within the same wine, even within the Manzanilla or the Amontillado, can actually change. It's not consistently the same color always.
Yeah.
And can you explain this why? Because I find it quite interesting.
Yeah. So when we have the wine inside of the botas, for the moment I speak about the Manzanilla, it's all the time protect. Soft when the flower is starting to die. But for this time, we don't have a very strong evolution. But when we take out the wine and we put into the bottles, we try to make it very slowly, and we take care to avoid the oxidation of the Manzanilla. But sometimes, like the wine is alive, it can evolution on the bottle. But for the opposite, the Manzanilla was already oxidated, but it can happen, as you say, to have the different color between the bottle. But I can really have exactly one explanation. I mean, I have a few options on my comment, but I think that maybe at the beginning of the bottling we had more problem with the oxygen, and we didn't put enough azote. How to say azote? Nitrogen.
Yeah.
Maybe it was that, but we sometimes have take some sample from the beginning, the middle, and at the end of the bottling, but they are not all the time the same type.
Yeah, it's quite
It's
interesting.
alive.
Yeah, it's alive. Yeah, that's true.
We are alive.
Great. So let's move on to the Oloroso then.
I have to say, when I started with the cherry, it was my favorite, the Oloroso. So here, it has 10 years old only with oxidative aging. It means it never have the yeast. So we can see that in the nose, we don't have the same salty minerality that we have maybe in the Manzanilla or the Amontillado. The nut fruit are stronger. We can feel more oak, even oak, in the nose. And of course, the color change. It has nothing in common with the other ones. But it has very round mouth in the middle of the tongue. I really like the Oloroso to eat it like with cheese because of the grass of the cheese. It worked very nice with the unctuosity of the Oloroso.
Yeah, I mean, you can drink it on its own as well. It's delicious.
Yeah,
it's very good. Cheese, jamon. Give me jamon. That's what I'm missing. I need to go to Spain.
Yeah, we will have to send you a little bit for the next tasting.
Mm.
The concentration of the glycerin is amazing. Makes it so sweet around.
Yeah. It's interesting because we're discussing it that the density of the wine is so much bigger, and it's like gives you a sensation of sweetness.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because you said there's no sugar in there, right?
No,
no sugar whatsoever. And yet, if you ask me, I would say this wine has residual sugar in it, but it doesn't.
No. Well, this feeling, yes, exactly. Somebody say that this is the glycerol. We taste some wine where the yeast ate the glycerol and the and some of the alcohol, the ethanol as well, but without the flour. We keep the glycerol, and also the monoproteins that came from the yeast that die. The monoproteins, they make the wine like more unctuous, sweet. Also, sometimes the barrels can take part of it, but yes, it seems like a kind of sweet.
That's very, very good. So, well, I'm Hungarian, so I always thought making Tokaj was complicated, but thank God you made this to a completely different level.
I hope everybody understood it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're gonna send out we're gonna invite all the participants into the office, and we're gonna put them a WSET exam on sherry to see how they do.
If anybody has any question, please just ask me.
Yeah,
sometimes it's difficult to explain it because it has so many different concepts, and you have to explain with the same line.
Yes.
Or sometimes you're trying to explain something, you go to another part, then you come back. It's not easy.
What I find fascinating is that you have the Fino is in one town, and you have one type of yeast, and you go to another town, and it's another type of yeast, and it's the floor is different, and because of that, you have different wines, even though they are made the same way, but they don't produce the same end result.
Exactly, and we all the time work with the same variety. It's all the time Palomino. I mean, it's very versatile.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
the time to come with us, and thank you everyone for coming. I think
That's a
that we
pleasure.
have covered quite a bit of ground across Europe, and I thank you for joining us, everyone, and hope you enjoyed it. I certainly learned a lot, and thank you very much, Carmen. Goodbye, everyone, and enjoy
You're
the
welcome.
sunshine, and stay safe, and see you all soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.